Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about Dungeons & Dragons, and I want to talk about Seth Skorkowsky's use of backup characters at his Dungeons & Dragons table. Now, Seth plays a lot of stuff. He plays Dungeons & Dragons, he plays Traveler, he plays Call of Cthulhu. He's actually he's a SME, like a subject matter expert on Call of Cthulhu. I think he's literally written adventures for them. And he is also a subject matter expert on Traveler, but he has played Dungeons & Dragons. He's very aware of Dungeons & Dragons. And he comments, he actually creates content in full knowledge that Dungeon Masters are using his advice, right? Good guy. I really like his content. There's a couple times where I think he's overshot the mark a bit. But generally, great guy. I really enjoy his Twitter content. I really enjoy his YouTube content. He's a stand-up guy in the tabletop role-playing game community and in the Dungeons & Dragons community, right? But I'm going to roll pretty hard on him in this video, and maybe more than this video, in that his use of backup characters is bad dungeon mastering, and I want to discuss this. And I can only discuss this because of his transparency and because of his honesty and because he responded to me on Twitter. So first of all, I wanted to say thank you for that. Also, Professor Dungeon Master from Dungeon Craft commented on the same tweet that I made. And I also want to thank Jacob Shelby, who started, I quoted his, so my tweet was quoting his tweet and kind of getting into it. So I'll give the context, and then we're gonna explore why the use of backup characters by Seth Skorkowsky specifically is very bad dungeon mastering. Very bad dungeon mastering. And I want to explore this in depth. Let's start. Okay. So, yeah, here we go. All right. So this all starts with Jacob Shelby saying, hey, you know, I told my players in my campaign, campaign that's starting, have your backup characters ready. And several of the players were like, oh, so this is a high lethality game. So all my character's going to die, right? And he then had this great thread, and he's like, no. Me telling you need a backup character does not devalue your player character. And then he explained why he uses backup characters, right? So then I tweet back, and I'm like, asking any player for a backup character is bad dungeon mastering, period, right? It's bad, right? And the reason why is you're telling those people, hey, you see that player character you wrote up? I don't give two figs about that thing. I'm absolutely devaluing it. It doesn't matter. It's an interchangeable piece of paper. My world is alive and wonderful. Your content sucks, and it's interchangeable and junk, right? I feel like telling people they need a backup character, that is a very good sign of bad dungeon mastering, right? Now, am I saying that Seth Skorkowsky is a bad dungeon master? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yes, I'm saying that, right? And the reality is, I don't think he was always a bad dungeon master, and things have changed. He's a bad dungeon master because time has caught up to him, and he's still clutching the blanket of nostalgia, which makes him a bad dungeon master. Doesn't mean he can't return, and be a good dungeon master next week by stopping some of the things he's doing. But right now, I think he's a bad dungeon master, right? All right, so let's get into this. And let me back. That's a bold claim, right? Let me back it up. Why? Why do I think Seth Skorkowsky is a bad dungeon master? Here we go. Okay. First of all, it's all about player character death, right? And narrative, and fun, and nostalgia. So I get there's a lot in here. Let's go. All right. So Seth Skorkowsky says, hey, I use backup characters. I'm backing up Jacob Shelby. Using backup characters is fine. By the way, Professor Dungeon Master jumped in and said, I use backup characters, right? And I'm saying it right now. If you ask people for backup characters, you're a bad dungeon master. Let me explain this, okay? Let's get into it. All right. Here's the issue, okay? The narrative unfolds. February 7th, 1974, Gary Gygax invents Dungeons & Dragons. It changes human narrative forever, right? Before, you had authors, they would scribble a bunch of junk on a piece of paper, maybe one editor saw it, and then they would plop that out and say, hey, 1 million people, you can all read this. You all get the same experience. Doesn't matter what you care about, what you think about it, or what you care about. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter about your uniqueness. It's just a story. Read it. Well, I don't care what you think, right? Gary Gygax is like, that phase is done. This is a new phase of human narrative, right? Dungeon Master formats a story, right? Gives a structure for a story, formats a story, and brings all their notes to the table, right? And the player characters can shred that to pieces until only 2% remain, right? And the dice can interrupt both the Dungeon Master and the Dragon Master, okay? By the way, I don't say Dungeons & Dragons player anymore. I say Dragon Master. So when I say Dragon Master, I mean Dungeons & Dragons player, okay? So the story today is the dice's decision, the Dungeon Master's decision, and every Dragon Master's decision. And it can be a powerful narrative, more powerful than has ever been written by any author, more powerful than it's ever been accomplished by any director, right? Because it's real, it's immediate, and it is a form of art and narrative and literature and decision-making and acting that has never existed, right? Unless you are at Seth Skorkowsky's table, right? So what he's saying is, hey, we are going to play. And boy, do they play. And are they even playing? Let me ask you this. Do you do anything for 8 to 10 hours where you're playing? They get together for 8 to 10 hours once a month. Okay, he's the Dungeon Master. All his Dragon Masters are there. 5 Dragon Masters, you know, red, blue, white, green, black, right? They all sit around the table, right, for 8 to 10 hours. That sounds pretty intense. I don't even work, like, I do work for 10 hours. Like, sometimes longer than that. But those are like, that's a work day. You hear what I'm saying? Like, that's a work day, right? He's like, oh, it's just for fun. Is it? Like, you're like, oh, yeah, that's a lot of time, right? 8 to 10 hours, right? So he brings everybody together. They all start, right? Now get this. They all start, and you hit the stride, and basically they're going to be doing this for months, right? So if he got 6, 8, 10 months in, right? These people have like 50 to 80 to 100 hours. A character death happens, right? This is a character that they have, that those players have emotion, memory, sensation, distinct thoughts that are distinct from their own identity, right? And he's like, and so that player character dies, right? And basically, Seth Skorkowsky's like, you got that backup character? Got that backup character? Don't you dare get sad. Don't you dare take a minute to reflect on what just happened. Don't you dare put value on that player character. It's nothing. Grab your other piece of paper and forget every minute you spent in your heart, your mind, and your soul with that other identity. Do not grow, learn, cry. Do not emote at this table. I don't have time for it. I'm here for fun. And how dare you even imagine to feel something real? Get that other piece of paper out. Do not feel. Do not emote. Do not think. Do not reflect. There is no learning, no growing, no transforming at this table, because you could cost me fun. That's selfish. That is selfish at a level that is astonishing. That is outrageously selfish. He will not allow learning, growing, changing, transforming at his table. How dare you? How dare you even think it? grab that other interchangeable piece of paper because your first player character didn't matter, and this one won't matter. All that matters is that I, Seth Skorkowsky, am having fun. My fun is the greatest goal of this table. It's all that matters. And how dare you even think about interrupting my fun with learning anything, with growing in any way, with feeling anything, with valuing this other identity that you had. Don't even think about it. It's not allowed here. Only fun is allowed. Now, I don't think Seth Skorkowsky is intending to hurt his players, but I think he does. And Seth Skorkowsky is not aware of this. I know he would not claim it, but he is a YouTube celebrity, right? And people don't act around celebrities normally. And I think there are definitely moments where his players are hurt, they're frustrated, they're sad, but they know they're not allowed to show those emotions at the table. They have to grab their ready backup character because nothing can touch Seth's fun, right? They have to be under manners, right? Or they're out of a game that 1,000 people would line up to be in. You know, like, and Seth would, I follow Seth's Twitter, he is a mini Mercer, right? He has people who listen to him, and there is pressure on those people to behave at the table. Make sure they don't show any sadness or any, oh, I hope Seth doesn't realize I'm going to grow or learn or change or emote or feel, because then I could get kicked out. Because all that matters at this table is Seth's fun. This is where we're at, right? Like, and, you know, and I really appreciate Seth coming on and being transparent and showing the shape of his campaign. But increasingly, I'm not apologizing for where I'm at anymore because I don't need to. Lego Dungeons & Dragons, it's gone. It is gone. You cannot buy it right now. I got mine. You can't get yours, right? You cannot buy it right now, right? Like on any shelf, you cannot buy it, right? I don't think it even ever saw a shelf, right? I think it was bought out in the first 4 days when you asked for it and they pulled it out of the back room, right? Which was like a pre-release kind of. So in Lego Dungeons & Dragons, they're like Dungeons & Dragons is increasingly talked about as a therapeutic tool. People, for a long time, people laughed at my content. Were like, oh, more than game, more than fun. It's openly deeming like Lego and Dungeons & Dragons, just like, this is more than fun, right? This is a tool, right? It's literally printed in the instruction guide, right? And this is my point. Seth's opinion and the way he's treating his players is increasingly unacceptable, in my opinion. Increasingly. I don't think he's intending to harm them in any way. And I don't think he's even aware that there's a pressure on them to obey, to behave. And that means never elevating above fun, never showing sadness or value in that player character. That piece of paper might be one of the most valuable things those people have, right? But I don't need to apologize for this anymore. I don't need to pretend that we are not at a point where player characters are second, third, fourth, 100th identities, and identities are valuable. Narrative is valuable. Emotion is valuable. Sorrow is valuable. I want to thank you for letting me share this. Seth is a great guy. I really appreciate, if you guys want to come in and defend him in the comments or anywhere else, I get it, right? This is my humble opinion. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. Nothing more, nothing less. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. And of course, Seth is welcome to respond as always. And I just want to thank you for letting me share it with you and for going down a deep road with me, right? Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a fetch millennium.